Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. Back with another video on quick, easy bush pot cooking. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill our bush pot with about a half a bush pot of water. We're going to put that over next to the fire to get it warming up while our fire burns down a little bit. Now, I've got some chicken here that came straight out of the refrigerator at home, and this would be fine to put in your backpack in a Ziploc bag for a day and cook it tonight. It's not a big deal. It's plenty cold outside. It's not going to get hot or get rancid or go bad on you. Even by tomorrow morning, it would be fine, especially in temperatures like it is now, where it's like 32 right now and it's been in the 20s all day, things like that. Those temperatures are going to be fine with cooked meats. These packet foods are simple to carry. It's no muss, no fuss. Why carry a bunch of ingredients when you can just carry this? This biscuit mix, and you're going to find out, will do a whole lot of stuff for us over the course of the next few videos. Instead of having to carry the yeast and the flour and the baking soda and all of the things that it takes to make biscuits, this will do for you, plus a lot more. We're going to use it for a couple things today. Now, I've got some mashed potatoes here, baby reds, and I'm really not using these potatoes in this recipe as potatoes. I'm going to use them as a thickener for our soup stock. I'll show you that in a few minutes. And then we've got the freeze-dried vegetables. Cutting board, a couple utensils, and a bowl. Bush pot's on. Let's get after it. All right, so first things first here. What we're going to do is we're going to take the lid off of our bush pot, and we're going to add to that about a half of a U.S. military spoon of this broth base. And we're going to stir it up in there real good. And we're going to let it boil in here in a few minutes, so that's not a big deal. Then we're going to take some of our vegetables, because they're going to take a little while to rehydrate. And we're going to add a full scoop, full military spoon of the vegetables as well. And let them start to rehydrate. Now we're going to get this pot on the boil, and this time we want that cooking heat or that boiling heat in this pot. So we're going to keep this fire going pretty well, because in the end we're going to want to cook this down a little bit and boil some of that water off. That's why we started with a half a bush pot, because we want to end up with less than 1/8 of liquid in that thing when we're done. So we'll keep adding sticks to our fire and keep this fire going to keep this water boiling as we go. All right, so I've got a couple of leftover chicken thighs here that I'm just going to tear up, and you can leave the skin in here or you can take it out. It's up to you. It don't bother me a bit. I actually like it. You can cut this up or you can just tear it up with your hands, but you want to make it chunky. If you're going to use the skin, that skin will help coagulate and make that stew a little bit thicker. So I like to use that skin when I've got it. I won't cook the bones in this one. So I'm just going to shred that skin up a little bit into some smaller pieces here. Okay, so swing this arm over a little bit here. I haven't got this lid on tight. I got a good rolling boil. My vegetables look good. My water's starting to go down a little bit now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my chicken to the pot. All right, now get that pot back over the fire, let him cook a little. Okay, that rolling boil right there is what we're going to need when we put our dumplings in, but we need to reduce that down just a little bit more first. So we're going to go ahead and take the lid off of it and let it boil a little bit so that the liquid in there reduces. Okay, while that water's boiling, we're going to go ahead and make our dumplings. And all we're going to do is use the same mixed Bushpot complete that we used in the last video. This one just happens to be garlic flavor, which ain't gonna hurt nothing in my mind. Make it better if you ask me. Pour a little bit of water in there and start to mix this up. A dumpling. Once you get something that's about 1 inch around, a little bit smaller than a golf ball, pack him together a little bit and just drop him on the plate. Just like that. Another one right there. That was enough water for about 2 fairly good dumplings there. You don't want these to be real sticky, because that extra flour on there is just going to help thicken up your soup when you're done. So don't make these things too sticky, but don't make them too dry. You'll get a feel for it. That one there is a little bit too big. I'll pinch a piece of that one off. Save it for the next one. Still a little bit too big. I want them things about 1 inch around. What I'm looking for. Put this guy back in and mix him up. And we'll get 5 good dumplings made. And that's what we'll use in our soup here in the end. When I'm cooking a quick meal or something, if I can get away with it, I use small sticks and just keep adding the small sticks because it burns down quicker into coals in the end. And when you're done cooking, your fire's about ready to be out. And then you don't have a bunch of stuff to mess with trying to put out a big large fire that you cooked with, unless you're planning on staying there and you're looking for a campfire after the fact. Then it doesn't hurt to use the bigger stuff. But if this is just a quick lunch stop or something like that, or a quick lunch before you go back out on a hunt, whatever the case may be, and you don't want to have to tend that fire or worry about it burning the woods down, the smaller you make it and the more controlled it is and the more manageable it is, the better it's going to be. Okay, we got our water level down quite a bit from where it started. A little less than half a bush pot. It looks a little higher than that because it's rolling boil. That's okay. Now we're going to put our dumplings in. And those will help to thicken things up. And we want them in rolling boiled water. So we're just going to drop them in one at a time. Let them roll around in that boiling water. Give yourself a minute or two. Put a couple, 3 in, and then stop and do it again. Because what you're going to do is you're going to stop that boil if you're not careful by cooling that pot down. Now you want them things floating right on the top just like those are. Exactly what you want happening there. But you want to keep that rolling boil now until you're ready to let it simmer down. Now a little trick you can use to help thicken that up a little bit in the end is to get yourself some of the dry flour or some of your dry biscuit mix and just kind of sift it in over the top a little at a time. Just like that. That'll thicken it up. And that's the reason that we have the potatoes out here. Because in the end, if we're not thick enough, once we get boiled down, we'll add a few potatoes to that water to really thicken things up, and it'll also just give it that much more substance for us in the end. All right, while this thing's on its final couple minutes of boiling here, we're going to take 2 heaping spoons of these potatoes and put them in there, mix it down, just like that. And that'll break those dumplings up a little bit, mixing that in too. That's going to help thicken things up. And then we're going to let it final boil, and then everything else from there is going to be simmer and heat. All right, so we've let that thing boil now for a good 10 minutes after the final ingredient was put in. And things are starting to thicken up in there real good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull it over to where it's just on the heat, so it'll quit boiling and simmer. We're going to take our lid that we got sitting right here, so nothing can get on it, sitting around the other part of our cook set here. Another perfect thing for that swing arm cook set is it gives you a place to put that lid going on and off. And now we're just going to let this thing sit here and simmer for about 20 minutes. Now I can generally tell by looking at my fork when I pull it out of there what I'm getting. And you can see how that looks creamy and smooth and it's thick. That's the consistency of what's in that pot. So that tells me where I'm at. This is my gauge to tell me when I've cooked it enough, and now it's time to just simmer it down so it gets a final thickening. Go ahead. You're all right, pup. All right, so I do believe we're ready. Man, oh man. There is plenty in here for 2 meals, for sure. Now I would just, from here, pepper this thing to your personal taste. But I'll tell you what, man, that looks good. Look at that. Hang on, Rufus, I'm fixing your plate here. This is really hot, dude. I mean, it's really hot. So you're gonna have to be patient for a minute with this, because it'll burn your mouth. So just wait a second. I'll give it to you when it cools down. So let's have a serious discussion here for a minute about a couple things. You know, first of all, golly, I haven't even tasted this yet, but it just looks phenomenal. I hate to eat in front of the dog without him being able to eat. Although he did lick some off a plate a minute ago. The fact is, all of this could be eaten pretty much out of that bush pot. It could be cooked in that bush pot with just a slab of wood and a utensil. Everything else could pretty much be done in the bush pot and on the lid, especially if your lid's sitting upside down. I've got a lot of dishes out here I'm using because I'm showing you what the food looks like, and we're showing the prep factor and things like that of the food, and then obviously eating it out of a bowl so that you can get the whole nuance of the food. But there's only one thing I hate worse than doing dishes, and that's spitting out a dip right before I get on camera. So at all costs, I avoid complicated cooking in a quick camp scenario. Now we're going to talk about in later videos cooking in Dutch ovens and cooking in larger pots and things like that, and cooking for more people, cooking more complicated recipes where we actually have to add raw ingredients to things. But I want to start this series off the same way my book is going to start off, called Bushcraft Cooking, in simple things that you can pack and carry on a couple 3-day camping trip or a hunting trip or a scout or something like that, that aren't going to take up a lot of room in your pack, add a lot of weight, but will give you versatility in your meals. And that's one of the things, you know, even Horace Kephart spoke about in his book on camp cookery, is one of the biggest downfalls in a camp for morale is lack of variety within the diet. You cannot rely on rod and gun alone to provide your food, because things happen. The fish may not be biting. The game may not be moving. You can't always count on that. So you've got to take some food with you, even if you plan to supplement that food in camp by hunting and fishing or trapping, whatever the case may be. You still need some staple foods with you to get you through those times, because lack of resources can be a problem, especially in the winter months. You're not going to find a lot of wild edibles, and you may not find a lot of edible meat sources that are readily available to you in the dead of winter. So carrying foods with you is only smart. Anything else is asking to put yourself in a survival scenario instead of camping. And that's what we're after now, is we're after that camping scenario that we're comfortable, we're well fed, we sleep good, and we enjoy ourselves in the great outdoors. The longer this sits, the thicker it gets as it cools down. Wow. Man. Okay, Rufus, here you go, buddy. Come on. There you go. There's some for you. Man, that's good. Golly. Now, a little pepper would probably be good. I don't have any pepper with me. I'll eat it like it is. It ain't gonna bother me a bit, let me tell you. It is utterly fantastic. Get one of them dumplings there. Oh yeah, man. Those dumplings just smash in your mouth like Play-Doh. Those are the best kind. Oh man. Golly. Big piece. Now we used dark meat chicken in this recipe, and are you out? Are you empty, buddy? Holy crap. Man, you whooped that down, didn't you? I'll give you some more. You're gonna have to let it cool down for a second, though. You can't have it all. I need at least one more bowl for myself. For crying out loud. All right, let it cool down for a minute. We use dark meat chicken in this recipe. And I prefer dark meat for stuff like this, but the white meat that comes in those bags that's fully cooked already is fine for this stuff. It'll work. I can guarantee you, after a full day of scout or out hunt, something like that, where you've been chilly all day long and you're ready to get some warm food in your belly, that difference between white meat and dark meat ain't going to make a bit of difference. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me for this video today. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our instructors. You always think I get that right, don't you? For all of our instructors, sponsors, affiliates, and friends. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. All right, Rufus. Still pretty warm, man. I got it spread out on the plate to cool down for you quicker. Let's put it on the ground. You can be the judge there, buddy. Be careful. Be careful. Man. I might as well just eat the whole pot while we're here. I was going to take some home to Mommy, but nope. We'll eat it all for ourselves.